Broken Dice, bringing you a battle report this time, something a little different. But we're going back into history a little bit with this. The background for my little, probably be about 3, maybe 4 games I'm going to put together here, is the Ionian Revolt. And the reason I chose the Ionian Revolt is because it had a tremendous impact on the relationships between the Persian Empire and the Greek city-states. It's that conflict there, because of Athens' involvement in supporting the Ionian city-states, is what led to Persia having a real hard time with Greece, and what led to all the later conflicts that we know so well. Marathon, Salome, Thermopylae, all those, and what continued on as a tremendous grudge between those two nations. Okay, let's talk about the scenario. This very first one. I've decided to use Hail Caesar as the rule set, and the reason I chose it is because it's very malleable, very player friendly, and it's basically designed around to be used with an umpire, if you guys have one. So I think it lends itself really well to solo play, and the solo player actually takes on the role of the umpire, part of the umpire's role. And then I use a deck of cards, which I give each army its own suit, and I use those to determine the order in which orders are given, and then sometimes to which unit orders are, unit gets orders first. Trying to take as much of my own personal bias and prejudice out of the game, so I don't, if I had a certain, like, I really want these guys to win, I want to take as much of that out of it as possible. I mean, I don't think we can ever really take all of our bias out, but hopefully I've taken enough of it out to where this game is interesting to observe and participate with, rather than manipulate to a known end. Okay, let's look at the troops involved. Persians. All right, I've got 2 commanders. I have 2 units of medium infantry spears, 2 medium infantry with bows, 2 horse archers, a light cavalry unit, and a unit of camel riders. And for the Greeks, 2 commanders. I have 5 units of light infantry peltas, 4 units of light infantry javelins, 2 units of light infantry slingers, and 2 units of light cavalry with javelins. Now, you ask yourself, well, that doesn't exactly fit with the way the armies are constructed in Hail Caesar, especially in some of the supplement books. It says you only have so many units of skirmishers and stuff like that, with so many combat units, heavy infantry and stuff like that. To me, that's part of the restrictiveness that I wanted to get rid of in this scenario, because to me, in this scenario, this is where 2 guys, they want to move fast, hit hard, do their thing, win their sort of fame and glory for the moment. And I think they didn't want to bring the heavier troops because it would have slowed them down speed-wise. That's just the kind of part of that extra layer of the background in the game. Okay. Deployment. On the left are the Greeks, and on the right are your Persians taking up positions in the town. And all right, the Greeks have won the initiative. Like I said before, I use cards, so I don't, pick a side, and then they always kind of have that instinctual I go, you go advantage that can develop during a game. A little bit more in the background is like the fun part of this is that the Greeks for this were looking at just running in and getting maybe some local troops or something that would be there in the village, destroy the well, destroy the water source, keep the Persians from utilizing this village for any future military activity. But much to their surprise, they have been outfought. Someone got paid off, but the Persians know, and they have sent a force to defend the village. All right, Greek phase of turn 1. Okay, as we talked about, in Hail Caesar, you can give command ratings to your leaders, and that's what I've done. I think I failed to point that out when I had the army list up. But anyway, you should do to the left. It says I have a level 8. That would be his command rating. That's what he's got us to roll less than to get his troops to activate. Well, over on the right-hand side, you see this level 5 commander. He's about the lowest level guy you can get. This is his guy. You could probably represent him as one of those guys. He really wants to do something, but he's really not that skilled. People really don't have a lot of respect for what he can do. So he's going to be more of a liability than an asset. But in this first turn, and like I said before, and I will reiterate this throughout this small little set of games, that I use these cards to indicate the order in which I'm going to issue orders. So the level 5 commander pulls up a king of spades. So he's going to issue orders to his division first. Well, as you can tell, the dice on the right-hand side are 6s. He subsequently failed. So then we move over to the division on the left, led by the level 8. He passes his command rating, and he does it by 2. The glare on that's awful. That's a 6. So he passed it by 2, so his division gets 2 moves. And there they go. When I'm doing a solo game like this, especially like in the early stages of the game, that I always try to maximize the movement of troops. I just feel like it's something that they would do anyway. Okay. Yes, and the right has failed to support them. At this point, the Greeks are aware the village is defended. Is Xenophon a traitor or just a poor commander? Well, we'll see how this game turns out, and he just may be deemed a traitor if he doesn't start rolling better. Persian phase of turn 1. Again, the cards are dealt out. The cavalry model. If we go back and you look at it, he's the one with the level 10. So he also gets the first to issue orders to his division, which is an all cavalry division. And then the infantry character in the back, he kind of represents one of those like local leader types, responsible for raising troops and that sort of thing. And so he's a level 6, so he's not that great, but hey, he's what you got. All right, now here's where I decided to throw a little curveball into the game a little bit, because the Persians are there, but they're not completely knowledgeable of when the attack is going to occur. So they're kind of taken aback by the speed at which the Greeks have arrived. So to reflect that sort of, trying to gather everyone and trying to get them to be in a spot and to respond to the action that's going to take place, I decided to give individual orders to his division. Now, you would think that being a leadership 10, he should be able to pass all of them. The math should be in your favor. It's not what happened. As you can tell, the markers show that, he passes 2, failed 1, and then 1, because of his failure, his order phase is done. All right. So the camel riders pass, and the light cavalry with the jack in front of them, they pass. And both of them pass with by 3, so they get 3 moves. So it's going to be a very, very fast response to the Greeks showing up. All right, the Persians respond to the Greek advance, and the camel riders attack. Okay, since they get 3 moves, they moved up to turn to face the light cavalry and charge. Now, because they have bows, they could have stood back and shot. Yes, I understand that. But I'm thinking, okay, as a player, most players, you get that sort of an advantage to charge into the flank. I mean, I don't think hardly any of us really would ever turn it down. So I thought that was probably the more logical course than them to sit out there and just start plinking away back and forth. So they charged in, and you can see on the photo on the right, they did 2 points of damage. The Persians hit twice. The Greeks failed both saves. Greeks fought back. They hit once, and the Persians saved that one with a 6, but they saved it. And then the Thessalonians had to take a break test, and I rolled extremely low for them, and they broke and ran right off the table. All right, the light cavalry, they do the same maneuver. They move straight ahead to turn and charge the slingers. Now, in Hail Caesar, these skirmishing troops normally have the opportunity, when they're charged by formed, now these are closed order cavalry. They're light, but they're closed order. And so they can flee from this. I decided that since surprises on both sides, that the Greeks are just as surprised by the Persian response as the Persians are by the arrival of the Greeks. And so I had the slingers do closing shots. And since they're in skirmish formation, they can shoot 360, so it really doesn't matter. They don't have any flanks and rears and all that kind of stuff. So they shot back. And I thought it was funny. They needed 5s and 6s. They hit twice, and the Persians failed both saves. All right, as we go into the combat phase then. All right, so let's keep a tally of this. The Persians have taken 2 points of damage, but they charge in, and they do 4 damage to the slingers. Slingers don't have any saves, so they've taken 4 hits. The Greeks fight back and do 2 more damage to the Greek light cavalry. I thought, man, these slingers are the bomb, man. Okay, so the Greek slingers and both the Persian light cavalry suffer both 4 hits. Both units are now shaken. But the Persians, they've won the combat. Okay. They force the slingers to take a break test. Persian line win the combat, but they are shaken, and that's very important. The slingers, they fail their test, and they break, and they run from the field. But because the Persians are shaken, they can't do a sweeping advance. But because they wiped them off the table, they get to do 1 move. So so tactically speaking, and I got a little longer explanation here on the left if you want to take time to read it, but what I decided to do was, tactically, I think it would have been best if they just take the 1 move, kind of fall back toward their own lines, but because of proximity rule, they have to remain facing the Greeks. And so that's kind of how I solved that little situation. And that brings us to the end of turn one. It went real quick. Sorry it took so long, but I do like to do a lot of preface so people understand where I'm at and why I'm doing certain things in my solo wargaming. A little bit of a background, but not much. There's so many books and history written on the Ionian Revolt and its relationships between Persians and Greeks and the role that they played and how important it was is very, I don't know, prolific out there. You can find all kinds of information out there. But I hope you enjoyed it. If there's something else you want to know about it, just go ahead and drop me a question, leave a comment, subscribe if you haven't. Stay in contact. Everybody stay well. Turn 2 I'm in the process of doing right now, so later on this week I'll drop another video on turn 2, and it'll go a little bit quicker because I won't be doing a lot of the the information beforehand, letting you know why I'm using the cards and why I'm doing this. We're going to get right into the nuts and bolts of the game, and then we're going to see how this game leads into the next action. All right, everybody be safe, and I will talk at you next time.